All right, for those of you just joining us on today's leadership development interview series with the Conference of Consulting Actuaries, we have the pleasure of hearing from the current presidents of the SOA and CAS, John Robinson and Roosevelt Mosley. Gentlemen, I want to talk for a bit about volunteering. Obviously, you two are at the helms of two of the biggest actuarial organizations in the United States, and especially as it relates to credentialing. And a lot of research as well. So you two have clearly been active volunteers within the profession in a variety of different roles within these different organizations. Roosevelt, let me start with you. How did you get your start volunteering?
Well, when I started consulting, I was fortunate to work for a firm that actually encouraged volunteering with the profession. And so up to that point, I had never really thought about volunteering or where I would get involved. And as I began my consulting career, as I thought about, okay, where would it make sense for me to get involved, I reverted back to two areas that had an impact on me as I was coming up through the exams and my first few years of my career. The first of those in high school, after I had written and got a series of brochures and information on the actuarial profession, I actually received in college a scholarship from then what was called the Joint Minority Recruiting and Career Encouragement Committee, and I probably got some of those names wrong, but it was
yeah, you probably did, yeah.
But I remember in college I actually got a scholarship from them, and you know, coming through college, they never would have known how much that scholarship helped it. And so because I had been impacted by that committee, when I got my fellowship, that was one of the first two committees I joined, was that joint committee. And as John said, that really kind of started my sort of diversity passion. What did start my passion? Started my work in the CAS in terms of attempting to encourage more diversity, more representation. And the second one I joined actually was we have a committee that's responsible for putting on our course on professionalism. And I remember my course on professionalism when I attended, it actually sort of reshaped my view of the actuarial profession. It wasn't just a job anymore. It really was a profession that I was going to be a part of for, you know, hopefully the rest of my career. And because of the impact that course had on me, I also joined the committee on professionalism at the time, and was now part of the team that was putting on this course on professionalism for aspiring actuaries that were coming into our profession. And so that really was the start, and really every opportunity from there just kind of grew out of connections I made in volunteering, connections I made in CAS. But that's really where it began. It was something I was interested in, something that made an impact on me, and I decided to jump in and give back in those areas. And the rest, I guess, as they say, is history.
Well, I'm curious. So I want to go back to something you said initially here. You said your employer was one that actually encouraged the volunteering element. Why is that?
Well, it was really the desire to give back to a profession, I think, that has given so much to us. We at our firm, Pinnacle, has really prided ourselves to be able to say that 100% of our credentialed actuaries volunteer with the CAS, and not many companies can say that. But we. Not only do we say it, we really encourage, we obviously can't force anyone, but we really encourage our credentialed actuaries to volunteer because of it, across the principles to a person. All of us, again, have realized the awesome opportunity we've had to benefit from this actuarial profession. So what else do you do in that situation except give back to the profession that's given so much to you?
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I mean, because I have a slightly different take on it, right? I mean, luckily, I work for an employer that is totally for volunteering in the different organizations, and the part of the reason why I push it with other people is because of the skills that you can learn through volunteering, and and you get the benefit of interacting with people that work at different companies, and it actually it's diversity with the maybe a lowercase d, right? You're going to get different thoughts from different people that work in different places, and that
Absolutely.
actually, I think, from a corporate the value to a corporation and having their employees volunteer in those type of roles is huge. It's hard to measure, other than the fact that you get that professional development in your people. So I totally appreciate the giving back element to it as well. I think there is something to be said for that.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, all of those benefits are absolutely true. But at least from our firm, there is a bit of an altruistic reason behind it, is that we really do want to give back to the profession.
Which is awesome. I mean, I wish there was more firms like that felt that way. That would be great. So, John, how about you? How did you get your start volunteering?
Well, let me just say that's interesting because, both of you are consultants, and so you do get to see many companies. Most of my time was spent inside one or other life insurance companies. So, except for my OPEB years and my clients, there were school districts. There weren't even insurance companies. So, and so there's that. But I didn't really consider it until I went to the fellowship admissions course, and they said we need people to grade exams, and so that became the first one. And the funny story to that one is that there's this exam. Well, it started out as course 6, and the name changed a couple of times, but I failed that thing 3 times, and I finally passed it with a grade 6. So when it came time for assignments of who's going to grade what, they assigned me to that exam. What I'd failed 3 times. And what I found out subsequently is that you can grade exams even if you're not a specialist in a particular subject, because they give you the grading outline, they tell you exactly what to do, there's people to talk to and figure things out. So that's how I got my start. And I think even in the early days, I never used the term volunteering much. That's kind of sort of entered my lexicon much more recently. I would say it's the last 20 years or so. Volunteer, which is something that it would be fun to do. I'm a past high school teacher, so of course I wanted to grade exams.
That's awesome. Well, John, let me ask you too, with the roles that you've had volunteering within the profession, how has that benefited you professionally and personally?
Well, the personal benefit is that whenever you volunteer, there is a certain amount of personal satisfaction you should be getting. If you're not getting it, then quit. But you should be deriving some sort of personal satisfaction, certainly not financial, but just a good feeling because you are putting out something, you're offering something of yourself in something that is optional to you, and hopefully you're being thanked for it. I sat down and just sort of listed all the things I'm doing, and I don't mean to boast, but I didn't realize it was so many. So in addition to being SOA presidents, looks like I have 8 other volunteer roles currently running. So 3 of them I just got off the internet. I mean, there's an organization called Kids and Kinship. I'm a mentor to a 16-year-old African-American male who is living with his mother, no father. So I'm kind of a big brother, if not father figure to him. Help at your door. I deliver groceries on a Friday morning to people who are less fortunate. They could care less that I'm the president of an organization. They just want the food to come, and they thank me for it. And that's all that matters. And then I serve on a board of directors of a little organization called the Lift Garage. Those that I didn't find on the internet, I'm the president of my homeowners association. They always say that's such a thankless job, but so far it's going fine. I'm on an academy work group. The Life Practice Council has a DEI work group, and they value my input in terms of sort of sharing with them at least, how I look at things, and from time to time, how the SOA does things to the extent that it's helpful. I'm in 2 mentoring programs, and I have, I think, 1 mentor in each, the IABA and SANA that I mentioned earlier. And I'm a friend of the International Section Council. I've been a friend of the council for, over 10 years, probably 12 years now, starting probably either 10 or 2011. And so the other thing I'll say is that volunteering, at least for your profession, is a great way to expand your professional network. And I certainly have benefited from that in many ways, including the fact that, I'm known around the world, and that helped me get elected. But also, just today, I happen to be, the audience won't know the full story, but I'm stuck in Dallas trying to get home. And don't you know, I went on the SOA website and found an SOA volunteer. And she said, come over to my house and do this recording. So that I won't tell you who it is, but that again, it's just the networking, the volunteering. So I guess my promise to you is that if you volunteer, you'll always have a roof over your head.
Well, we very much appreciate the kindness of that SOA volunteer in getting you set up today so that you could join us. Roosevelt, how about you? How have you benefited from volunteering?
John hit on a lot of the points I was going to make, so I won't reiterate them. It certainly does help to expand your community, and there are folks that I've volunteered with over the years that I still maintain relationships with, that I still know, and when we see each other, talk about those volunteer times. Maybe one thing I will add, it certainly does contribute to your continued growth and learning, not just in the actuarial profession and about actuarial issues, but just in business and leadership development type things as well. There's nothing in the actuarial curriculum necessarily that teaches you about, governance in an organization or, leadership in an organization. And so getting those opportunities on committees, leading committees, really does provide you with some of that professional development and opportunities to put that into practice. I never thought I would have done any of this, or it was never even on my radar, but as part of volunteering and leadership in both the academy and the CAS, I've been a part of two different task forces that have focused on the governance structure of both of those organizations, and again, those are opportunities that I would have struggled to get anywhere else, but have provided me some with unique perspectives on leadership and governance and how to apply those in other places. So the professional growth and the development that you'll get from it, people say that all the time, but there are real practical examples of how that can help translate into ways to truly benefit your career. And as a result of all of that, it really speaks to a lot of the benefits that you highlighted earlier, Michael. The fact that I've gotten these opportunities in the actuarial profession, it makes me a better Pinnacle employee. It makes me a better volunteer for other organizations that I volunteer for. And it just helps in my overall development. So I would encourage anyone, as you think about volunteering, it will pay long-term dividends that you may not even understand as you're volunteering.
So what advice do you have for someone that's thinking about volunteering, Roosevelt?
To John's point about finding enjoyment in what you're doing, one of my things, and this maybe speaks back to how I started volunteering, was find something that you're really passionate about or really interested in, and begin there. It certainly will. If you've got things that you're interested in, if you've got things that you're passionate about, even things that you may want to learn more about, those types of things and volunteering in those efforts will allow you, again, all of those other benefits, but also are probably more likely to actually keep you engaged and keep you active in that volunteer effort. But I would also encourage you to be willing to stretch yourself. Again, there are volunteer opportunities that were brought to me that I never would have even thought of. And to be honest, as I was presented with the opportunity, I can't necessarily say that I was that excited about doing it. But what I've tended to find is that even in areas where I may not necessarily be as passionate or may not necessarily be as involved in, the opportunity to stretch myself, the opportunity to learn, the opportunity to develop, all of that really does it does happen when you're at least open to the opportunities. You certainly you can't. You've got to be aware of your own limitations, and you can't necessarily get involved in more than you can take on or do more than you can take on. So, and I'll admit, as John was reading through his list, I was getting tired for him. But you've got to, but as long as you're, working within the confines of what you can do, be willing to grow, be willing to develop, be willing to stretch yourself. And again, as I started my volunteer career, there was never a point where I was looking for something to do. Opportunities just came to me. And so I suspect that if you begin your volunteer career and you really are enjoying it and really are passionate about it, you won't be looking for opportunities. They will come find you.
Yeah, well said. Well said. That's been my experience as well. John, how about you? What advice do you have for people?
I guess, see what I can add to that, which is not a whole lot. Thank you, Roosevelt. Start with a friend or colleague who is doing something and say, can I work with you on that? If it's something, even if you just like the friend, it doesn't matter what the thing is that's being done, and you feel like you want to participate, you can start that way. There are opportunities out there, regardless of what your interest happens to be. You can probably find something. I don't mind saying that you shouldn't limit yourself to any one organization. Any one of them that most of us are members of at least one. For me, it's 3. For you, it's 2. Most of us, and from a perspective of the profession overall, find the one that suits you. I tend to like the SOA because I always feel like I'm free to inject my own personality, my own views, and let that come out. Sometimes the academy can seem a little bit stiff as a kind of a contrast to that. But on the other hand, I have a young mentee actuary. I say, if you're looking for something that's kind of highly technical and a little bit on the nerdy side, yeah, the academy probably has something with your name written all over it. So there's no need to limit yourself to any one organization. There's going to be something there for you if you spend a little time looking for it, and the benefits will, as you rightly said. I mean, I was not president because I put my hand up first. People invited me to do it, and that makes a huge difference. So that after a while, that's what happens. You get invited to join this team and that team, this committee, that committee, and so on.
Yeah, excellent. No, I appreciate both of your perspectives on that. Very good advice.